Tonight, you're going to put $5 into a jar. It feels pointless. $5 can't buy much of anything. Not dinner, not gas, barely a cup of coffee in most cities. But that small, boring decision is about to become one of the most powerful forces in your entire financial life. Here's what's actually happening. Every dollar you set aside today isn't just $5. It's a seed. Left alone, it grows. Left alone long enough, it grows on itself. This is compound growth, and it works quietly. In the background, without asking your permission. Compound growth simply means your money earns money, and then that new money earns money too. $5 becomes $5.25. Next year, it grows from that new slightly bigger number. The year after, it grows from an even bigger one. Small. Almost invisible. At first. So why does something this small feel so unimportant? Because your brain isn't built to notice slow change. It's built to notice threats, right now, in front of you. The psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky spent decades studying exactly this kind of blind spot. Their research on decision-making showed that people consistently overweight immediate, certain outcomes, and underweight anything that unfolds slowly over time. A bill due Friday feels real. A dollar compounding quietly for 30 years does not. That gap in perception is not a personal failure, it's simply how human judgment evolved, built for a world with fewer bank accounts and far more predators. But the math doesn't care how your brain feels about it. Picture a single coin. Now picture that coin doubling. Then doubling again. Then doubling again. 10 doublings, and it's a stack. 20 doublings, and it's a mountain. 30 doublings, and it's larger than most people believe is mathematically possible. Money behaves the same way, just slower and quieter. A small amount growing at a steady rate, year after year, eventually stops looking small at all. The curve stays flat for a long time. Then, somewhere in the later years, it bends upward fast. This is why the very first years of a habit matter more than they seem to. Time is doing most of the work, not the size of the deposit. Time. There's a simple shortcut investors have used for generations to estimate this, sometimes called the rule of 72. Divide 72 by your rate of growth, and you get roughly how many years it takes your money to double. At a steady 8%, that's about 9 years. Miss those first 9 years, and you don't just lose 9 years of contributions, you lose an entire doubling that every later year was going to build on top of. That's the part most people never see coming. The early years don't look like much on a bank statement. They're doing the most important job anyway, quietly laying the floor that every later year stands on. Think about two people. One starts small at 25. One waits and starts larger at 35. You'd assume the person who saved more money each month ends up ahead. Often, they don't. The first person's money simply had more years to double. More cycles. More quiet growth stacked on quiet growth. 10 extra years can outweigh a bigger deposit almost every time. That's not motivation. That's arithmetic. The economist Richard Thaler understood the gap between what people intend to do and what people actually do. He helped design a program called Save More Tomorrow, which automatically increased how much people saved from future paychecks. Paychecks that hadn't arrived yet. Why did that small design shift matter so much? Because it removed the moment of decision. People didn't have to feel motivated every single month. They didn't have to fight themselves at the checkout line or the ATM. They just had to do nothing, and the system moved money forward for them, quietly, on schedule. Small, automatic habits, repeated without willpower, are exactly what compounding needs to work. Willpower runs out. Automation doesn't. Now here's the counterintuitive twist. You'd expect the people who build the most wealth to be the ones who earn the most. But the research tells a different story. Stanley and Danko studied the actual habits of American millionaires for their landmark research on wealth building, and what they found surprised almost everyone, including the researchers themselves. Many of the wealthiest households weren't high earners living lavishly. They were steady earners, living below their means, consistently, for decades, in unremarkable houses, driving unremarkable cars. The habit mattered more than the paycheck. Doctors and lawyers, the highest earners in their sample, were often less wealthy than shop owners and contractors earning a fraction of that income. The difference wasn't talent, and it wasn't luck. It was what happened to the money after it arrived. One group let their spending rise every time their income did.
The other group let the gap between income and spending stay wide, year after year, and quietly fed that gap into the same kind of compounding you just pictured with the coin. That's uncomfortable to hear if you've been treating a bigger income as the whole solution. Income helps. Of course it helps. But income without a consistent habit just means a bigger number disappearing at the same rate it used to. A raise without a habit is just a louder version of the same problem. A habit without a raise, held steady for long enough, quietly becomes wealth. Consider how this shows up outside of money too. A person who runs 1 mile a day for 10 years covers more distance than someone who runs a single marathon and stops. The marathon looks impressive in the moment. The daily mile wins over time. Your $5 is the daily mile. It was never supposed to look impressive today. That's the trap of comparing yourself to someone else's single dramatic move. A big bonus, a lucky trade, a windfall from a relative. Those moments make for a good story. They rarely make for lasting wealth on their own, because a single spike doesn't compound the way a repeated habit does. The habit is unglamorous precisely because it's doing the real work in the background, year after year, without asking to be noticed. So what does this actually mean for your wallet today? It means the $5, the $10, the small automatic transfer you barely notice leaving your account is not a rounding error. It's the seed. It means the habit you repeat this month matters more than the amount you're embarrassed is too small. It means starting now, even small, beats waiting for later, even large. Every year you wait is a doubling you don't get back, and no future paycheck can buy back a year that already passed. Waiting feels safe. It rarely is. There's a reason so many people plan to start next year, then next year again. The decision itself is exhausting. That's exactly what researchers like Thaler identified when they studied why so few people follow through on their own stated financial goals. The goal was never the problem. The friction of deciding, over and over, was. Remove the decision, and the goal quietly takes care of itself. This is also why so many financial plans fail in January and quietly vanish by March. They depend on motivation, and motivation was never built to last 52 weeks a year. A system doesn't need motivation. It just needs to run. Notice, too, that none of this required a windfall, a bonus, or a lucky investment. It required a small number, moved automatically, left alone. That's a strange kind of comfort. You don't need permission from a bigger paycheck to start. You only need a habit small enough that you'll actually keep it. Ask yourself something simple. Not, how much can I invest right now? Instead, what small habit can I make automatic so I never have to decide again? Because the coin doesn't care if you feel ready. It doesn't care if this month is tight, or if next year seems like a better time to start. It only cares whether you let it keep doubling. Tonight, you're going to put $5 into a jar. Only now, you understand what you're actually building.